Friday, and welcome to the Tea and Trails podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks to all our partners and patrons too. More and more companies are joining the gang. We have got Mountain Fuel, Outdoor Active, Bella Forte, Silver Active Route, the Centurion Running Store, Protein Rebel, SportsShoes.com, Big Bobble Hats, X Miles, and Fawn Side Farm Cottages. Pop over to Patreon and check them out if you'd like to take some of the sting out of your monthly purchases. Also, pop over to Summer Crazy if you'd like some awesome Tea and Trails merch. I saw a few Tea and Trails hoodies around Ambleside at the weekend. I loved it.
Did you sign them?
Oh, should carry a Sharpie around with me. It was the pumpkin Tea and Trails hoodie fest that I had mine on.
You can't beat the pumpkin. I can't wear mine at the moment. It's just a little bit too thick. The pumpkin hoodie for a 25-degree day. Episode 28. This week we chat with Grant Smaley from Ultra Trails. My emotions are well in check. Don't worry, everybody. Only good things to report from Camp Eddie. The coaches join us again. Gosh, I might imagine what Camp Eddie would be like. Fun, but also hard work.
It'd be awesome. I'd love it.
It would be awesome. You'd be like, we're going to go running for 6 hours and then we're just going to lie around. You don't need to take showers. We're just going to lie around and there's just going to be tea and fruit scones on tray brought to you and your legs like gently massaged. Anyway, back to the episode. Enough Camp Eddie. The coaches join us again. We bring you more tales from the trails, share our weekly trials and tribulations, and remind you to head over to Facebook to enter our competition with Fawnside Cottages. Gary's just said he's only a 6 out of 10 on the energy scale. I would say that's high. He's given himself a high scoring.
Yeah.
He said, I'm going to bring an 11 out of 10. I was like, Gary, I don't think you've ever bought.
No, I've never got that. Talk is cheap.
Tell us. Oh, here we go. On the face of it, it looks like a good week. That sounds like a really sad. That sounds like the start of a really sad diary entry. Dear reader,
don't give away my script. Suspense. Well, on the face of it, it does look like a good week. I think I did like 80. I was a lot of morning last week, and but yeah, on the face of it, it was 80 miles, 12,000 feet of climbing. I lifted every weight possible too, and I listened back to when I was doing the edit. I listened back to the show, and I think you thought, I gauged by your tone, you thought I should have lifted heavier on my leg press with George's equaling my strength. And so I crushed him down the gym. I put another 60 kilos on, and he was pretty
another 60 kilo or 60 kilo leg
another
press.
60. Yeah, so I was totally taking it easy the week before, but I think I had a bit of a dad moment. I impressed George with that. He just didn't think I was going to move the bar at all. It was good, but yeah.
Sometimes when you leg press, you don't think you're going to when you initially do the.
Yeah. You know what I do like sometimes with the machines, bit of going into the nitty gritty. You can't, it's hard for you to hurt yourself. If you say maybe doing something with the back, it's quite good. It kind of forces you to have
It's a really good way to learn to lift heavy if you're not used to being in the gym, and like a squat rack is like, I feel quite frightened, because it can be quite frightening to put weight on the squat, can't it? But if you've got access to like a leg press or something like that, you can almost like teach the brain and the legs like to push and to feel how heavy, and also to learn like how, because when you're lifting heavy, you want to be able to do like 3 sets of about 6 to 8 reps. That's all you need to do for your heavy lifting in the gym. And sometimes that weight's quite hard to gauge on a squat rack or a deadlift. But if you use a machine, it's much easier to gauge, and it's much easier to change the weight as well if you want to quickly change the weight, isn't it? Anyway, sorry.
I did some reverse, my back reverse lunges. A coach guided me a few weeks ago. He said I should reduce the weight so I could improve the form.
Yeah.
And I went down, so my knee was touching the ground. And the last couple of reps, I nearly couldn't get back up. It's great. It was like quite a busy gym, and I just locked on the floor. But it was fine. I did get back up, and it was good.
Guys, somebody help me.
But yeah, the detail. So yeah, on the face of it, it did look good. But I think I just crammed everything into the end of the week. Wednesday, I went to the gym. It was like a core session. Thursdays, I did my 800s and the gym too. So I lifted heavy on the Thursday. I know, yeah. Friday, gym again. So back to back. Well, that's George and my time down the gym on Friday, so I can't let that slip. Saturday, I did hills, and I enjoyed that session. It was the 4x4, 4x2, and then 4x 30 seconds. So once I did the 4x4, I was like, I've crushed this. This was great. But I got a bit sunburnt on that, and I came home and my little head was like red raw. I know. And then Sunday we went to the lakes, and I did 26 quite hilly miles. It was a loop went to Mardale over some Wainwrights, and I got one. I can't remember what it's called now, but I got one of the Wainwrights which I'd never got previously. So all of the Far East and Fell Wainwrights I've done. Brilliant. Then we dropped down into Mardale on the Lakeland 100 route and ran back to Ambleside. So yeah, as a coach, Eddie, you would look at that, I would think, and go, you've literally had no chance to recover from Wednesday onwards. Everything is just on top of each other. But
I would make comments. I would just understand that you were fitting it all in. Okay.
And I did, I think I got away with it today. Today, we're Tuesday. I feel super tired today because yesterday on Monday, we did quite a big 15, 16 miles on the Lakeland 100 route too.
I checked our splits next to each other. I was like,
oh, cool. We were super slow. Yeah, we weren't.
I was like, when I did the recce of that, it came up and I was like, oh, good. I was faster than Gary. That's all that matters.
Well, I tried this Garmin Pace Pro system. I don't know if you've ever done that, where you have a route, you see your goal time, and then you give it some detail about if you think it'd be a negative split or a positive split. And then it projects your splits based on terrain. So I loaded that into Garmin and I cross-referenced my splits against the Garmin splits. And so I was slightly faster, which I hope I would have been, because obviously I've not ran 90 miles before I got to that point. Yeah. So yeah, I felt okay. And, I got away with it. Nothing's creaking, but I would never recommend doing that to anybody, but quite often, do as I say, not as I do. That's
life, isn't it? You know, sometimes you've got to binge on the good stuff, as long as you maintain the calorie intake, which I don't need to worry about with you, Gary.
Well, yeah, we ate all the food, but it was good. And I think it was plain to see last week I was struggling a bit, and this week
you needed.
I enjoyed it. It could have been 60 miles, it could have been 80 miles. It's just the way it landed. I felt a lot better about how it all landed that week. It was great. But yeah, definitely the highlight was the Lakeland 100 recce on Sunday and Monday. But it was, I have to say, I think if I was a coach, I would think it was quite an immature approach to training.
We would expect nothing less from you. So,
but yeah, I enjoyed it. But big podcast news: you have a new Patreon partner, actually. The are supporting the show. They popped up on my radar quite a few times. Obviously, I know they are the big, well-known brand in the industry, but I've been looking for some Dragon's Back race kits, some insulated jacket, and a sleeping bag.
Dear Patreons and listeners, you think Gary's doing this all for you. We all know the truth.
But then they had an event, the Grasmere Festival, I think it's called. So they kept popping up on my timeline on Facebook. So I reached out to them, and they were happy to get involved and support our listeners too. So yeah, if you want 15% off, pop over to Patreon and then go and check out theom.com. That's my week. Yeah, much better. How about yourself, Eddie?
Oh, that's better, because last week was quite, I was trying to dig you out of your...
I think I was about in an 8 out of 10 there. What do you reckon?
There was definitely some inflection of the voice as well. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you had a good week, because I had a really good week. So I was like, oh, this is getting awkward because I'm going to have to play this down. I knew it was my last week before the schools break up over here in France, my last few days of freedom. So, well, I did exactly what you did, Gary. I just binged on I basically set myself a little challenge to go and climb every col and mountain that's surrounding our house during the week. Normally it takes me like the whole summer to actually get up and down all of them, to actually have the time to do it. But I was like, I'm just going to go up and down everything. So I climbed for the week. It was a joy. I was still a bit stiff on Monday, because I guess it was only a week. Yeah, I mean, again, Gary, was just a really bad example. So I had a week off after, and I always forget. I did it after the spine, didn't I? I went running, and Bryn was like, what are you doing?
What are you doing? I remember that.
I'm really tired. And he was like, well, it was only 10 days ago. And I was like, oh my God, I thought it was like 3 weeks ago. So I did a big 7,000 feet day on Tuesday, and my legs, they were still like, it wasn't the climbing so much, because that's relatively, you can just you can just hike up the hills. It was the coming down. My quads were still sore from the South Downs way, and it was really steep.
Afterwards?
No, I didn't actually. So actually, I ran off the DOMs during the week. So the 7,000 feet day was really super hot. I'd taken the dogs, and both the first climb, I think it's like 4 miles total, and it's 1,200 meters, so 3,000. It's really steep. It's steep up, steep down. The down, oh my God, you're just like, when is it? And it comes down through the hills, comes down through the forest, so you can hear the road, but you're like, where is the road coming to? Left the van in the car park, but then I was going up the other side for another 1,000 meters. Refresh, and Tarka, my older dog, was like, got in the van and was like, no, mum, no, that's it. And I was like,
game over.
We're going, buddy, we got to go up again. So we sort of picked our way up the next climb, and I took her like round the climb first to find some water, and then I was like, I can't be bothered to go all the way back down and round up the path, so I'm just going to go up the piste, which is just like this rocky, really steep track. You just look up it, and it's just going up. It's a red run, if that means anything to anybody, and there's no shade. It's just me and Tarka were just like, she was right on my ankles, like trying to go in my shade, and I was like, I feel you, buddy. I feel you, buddy. I was like, all we need to do is once you get to the top, then the wind comes and it's fine. We had a little sit down and a lot of Villa Forte chews, and then there's a lake at the other side, so we trotted down and they had a little swim in the lake and they're fine. But that was a big day out and it was hot, but it showed to me that my body had like reset itself. I went really easy and I stayed in the shade. But my legs were really sore. So I did what you all should do, guys, is I just ignored them. And I just carried on. I was like, I've only got 2-3 more days of that kid, so I'm just going to keep thrashing them and see what happens. It was like, a personal experiment, like we've done with all our all the drugs we now take. And so I just kept going. I had another couple of really big days, and as the week progressed, the DOMs just went. The downhill running came back to me. I love downhill running, and my legs felt better and better. They felt great. And had I been able to do more, I would have. I fitted in.
Can you run the downhills though? Sometimes, like, I know the Lakeland 100 route isn't massively technical, but in places, say, coming down into Coniston, for a good chunk of that, it was too rocky to really run.
No, not from down into Coniston. That's like a track.
No, not all of it. Well, maybe it's, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but for me, it's not.
No, I'm joking. I'm only winding up. Yeah, no, I mean, there's some bits, like, especially off the top of Coles round here, it's always a really steep, rocky bit. So you're like sort of picking your way down. And I always imagine I'm going much faster than I am. And then like an old hiker will come past and I'm like, oh, that was running.
Well, I remember the first time I did the 100, oh my goodness, it's Katie Carr, Saberstain's husband, just skipped down me. And I just thought, I'll try and keep with him for a bit. No way, Jose.
No. Well, it's very different running downhill in the 50 to the 100 as well, because the legs are feeling completely different. And you've got to protect the legs as well in that 100. You can't blast down the downhill. Yeah. And then I finished my week with the most amazing day on Sunday. And me and Evie went up. We've got a climb called Tip de Boston, which is a big cliff. It's right behind our house and we can see the top of it. It's still got snow on it. And it was just me and her for the day. And I said, do you want to do it, Eve? Do you want to do it? Packed up a picnic, flask of tea. There's no water on the route, so I carried a big backpack with a lot of water, loads of snacks, loads of sweeties, 10-mile round trip, just shy of 4,000 feet. What a strong 8-year-old leg. Tell you what, Gary, she crushed it. She crushed it going up the hill. She lost a tooth halfway up. And then
was it wobbly before?
Yeah, it was wobbly. Okay. And then I said, let's leave it on the mountain. She was like, no, I need to get my money for the tooth fairy. Fair enough. And then crushed the downhill. I was having to like skip down the downhill. She was like cartwheeling. She was taking the Michael. No fear. She did amazing. And we stopped at a refuge on the way down. I tell you what, Myrtle tart and a can of Coke, winner's combination. We shared the Myrtle tart. We could have had one each, but I said, Eve's, moment on the lips, a lifetime on the hips. Let's just share. So that was like so late. Coke, and then and we came back down, and then we watched The Little Mermaid together on the sofa. I was
What a
trashed.
day.
God,
What a day.
it was really, really hot. So also, this is another big fail. Guys can all learn. I put sun cream on that I found in the swim bag that we've had for quite a few years. And it wasn't as effective as it should have been.
Halves every year, I think.
Does it? So the top of my forehead, just
oh
there.
My goodness.
Oh my God, look at that. Now, I wonder if I can show you this without flashing my pants to the world.
Oh, well, the YouTube numbers are going to break. Yeah. Oh.
So the lower bit of my leg. And poor Eve. So Eve's, I put Factor, like the face sun cream. This is a good top tip if you're coming to the mountains, because you're so much higher, the sun is stronger. So I put the face sun cream on the kids because I feel it's much thicker and stronger than the spray one. I don't know. Anyway, I'd slathered Evie in that, so she was fine. But we just missed a little bit around her neck. So poor thing has got this little red neck.
Ouch.
It was the most, it's lovely day. And when I tucked her into bed, she said, I don't want this day to end, Mummy. I was like, oh my God.
It's like a Disney movie, Eddie, that.
Apart from the sunburn and the dehydration, because I didn't want to drink the water. I wanted to make sure she always had water. So I just sipped, and I was getting thirstier and thirstier. But I was like, I didn't want her to go, oh, I'm thirsty, and me to go, oh, I've drunk it all. Anyway, it was a great day. She was quite tired going into school Monday morning. But kids, they're so resilient. Bowl of Shreddies, a good night's sleep, can of Coke, she had 3/4 of the Myrtle tart. I ate most of just the Chantilly cream. So yeah, a great week. I mean, no quality as such in that. It was a real Gary week, 20 hours, 25,000 feet, about 21 miles. But
25,000 feet. Believe it.
Yeah, I didn't feel. Do you think so? I wanted 30, but I only got 25,000.
We'll find out later. I wonder if that got you on the Strava charts. Have to have a look.
Oh, no way. You've got to be up to. I try to have a look, but I can never look. Anyway, so yeah, I feel good. My legs feel great. I feel great, Gary. I did a little bit of teaching Bryn how to pole uphill yesterday. Yeah. Not that he needed any help. He just went past me. Okay, I got this.
I looked at it. It's great to hear, actually. It's really good.
Yeah, and said to Bryn, well, let's get your lecky system sorted. Anyway, he didn't need any help. Off he went up the hill. I felt great. I'm like, such a pity. I don't look back, Eddie, but I'm like, I feel so good, so strong, and I didn't achieve at that race. Anyway, as Bryn said,
it's past.
Yeah, get over it, Eddie. Reflection isn't it? I also wouldn't have had that week because there's no way I could have done that if I'd had another 20 miles in my legs. So looking forward, that's all good. I have my eye on another race.
I was just going to ask that, yeah.
Tret. I haven't even mentioned it to. I'm not even going to tell Bryn because it's all about Tot Dret, getting him round Tot Dret. I say that we all know what's going to happen, don't we? We all know what's going to happen. Eddie smashes at the first 2 climbs, and then Bryn has to give her a piggyback. A piggyback on the way back. But I love the change of climbing from running, because I did so much running for South Downs Way. I love the change into the hiking. I love hiking. I could do it all day, every day. When I'm old, that's just what I'm going to do.
I think I could get all I need from just hiking.
As long as you're out in the nature. As long as you're out in the nature with Myrtle Tart.
Trish Callan asked the question for our coaches this week, and Trish has been suffering from really bad quad pain after big elevation days. Yeah, I think we could all do with some advice and listen out my ears.
Don't listen to our previous comments, just keep running through it. Well, maybe do. Yeah. Let's see what we say. We've got a question this week from Trish Callan. She has had really bad quad pain the last few times I've done big elevations. Just done a 50-mile race with 8,600 feet. Good job. Going down the stairs was agony for several days afterwards, and it was a week before I could run without pain. I would say, before we even start that, Trish, that's perfectly normal for an ultra recovery. I think you've done jolly well. Is there anything I can do in training or during the race to prevent it, or anything to help them recover quicker? With a bit of a backstory, this wasn't my first ultra, and while I live in a flat area, I do train on the hills whenever I can. I recently bought some Lecky poles, thanks Patreon Sports Shoes discount. Our pleasure. Thinking they might take the pressure off my quads a bit. They definitely help during the race, but my quads are still just as bad. I'm slightly dreading how sore I'm going to be after my next race, my second Lakeland 50, and also can't imagine ever being able to do a multi-day event. Trish, we've just been discussing this. We're going to have a good cop, bad cop sort of method, because there's lots of different ways we could discuss it. So, and if you're listening and you go, yeah, my quads are always blown, take on board, listen, something, hopefully you can draw some information out from Trish's pain. Let's start with the bad cop. Russell, what are you going to say?
Hi, Trish. I'm going to say all of this with
love.
Good humor and love in my heart. And I care about you, Trish. So I'm sorry if somebody has to tell you, you have to get out into the hills, Trish. Like, you have to do your training in the hills. And there's lots of reasons why I'm saying this. I was born in London. My first fell race, remember it really clearly. My quads, it felt like they were trashed for 2 weeks after. And I just felt like I was never going to get the hang of fell racing. That exposure to downhill running, I just don't find you can replicate that in the gym. And people try, and there are things you can do. But if you think about it just in terms of 180 beats a minute, 180 steps a minute, you're running downhill, that's 1,000 steps in a mile. You're not going to do 1,000 reps in the gym. You need to get out on the hill and you need to run down hills. And if you really care about your race, that's the only way through it. I would say every 2 weeks is optimal, but even every month you can still get benefits.
And there's a recent study that says you actually only need to blow your quads like once a season. As we all know, like when the snow goes here and I do my first 1,000-meter downhill, the next day I can hardly sit on the toilet. But then that never happens again. And I was like, oh yeah, that is actually right. That actually once you've blown your quads properly, they do harden themselves off.
Yeah, that stress plus rest equals growth. That equation is real. But I coach a lot of runners who live in towns, have your same problems, and then can't get out into the mountains. And it's the ones that never make those recce trips that then they just suffer with those DOMs because there is just no way around it in the gym. You can do all the box jumps you want. You can do all the squat thrusts, all of it, but it's not the same as running down the hill and that specific stress that you get. So unfortunately, quite boring, but that would be the thing that I would suggest, is getting to a nice runnable gradient that you can run down in your training and just getting that exposure once every 2 weeks, once every 4 weeks. And that's going to be the thing. And then taking your protein straight after you've done that to allow that body repair to happen as soon as possible.
I think actually if you are committed to doing something like Lakeland 50, or especially there's like UTS races, I've got a bit mean now if I'm coaching clients towards those races. I'm like, you have to spend some time. There is no point training. I know there are times where it's not going to work, but sometime if you possibly can on the specific terrain at as much close as that race, that sort of like 6 to 4 weeks out when you're really in the specificity of your training, if you can be on the terrain, even if it's not perfect, even if it's not exactly the same terrain, I know that driving out to Snowdonia for a lot of people is not easy, but getting to as specific as you can make it terrain and spending some time on that terrain. I would argue that actually you can do a lot with strength training, balancing out your strength work so that your legs and your core especially is strong, because if your core is strong, it allows you to run better downhill, because it allows the lower limbs to release and relax, because your brain is saying, I am supported, and so I am going to relax, rather than tensing and breaking downhill, is relaxing and running downhill. Trish, we need you.
Yeah, hi Trish, great name.
Trish, it's Trish.
Hi.
Are you related?
I just think all Trishes are awesome generally. So Trish must be an awesome individual. So with what Russell said, I totally agree. You've got to I'm a flatlander. I live in the flats of the New Forest. It's really poor hills down here. There aren't any. But so in my block, I have dedicated weekends where I go to the hills and I basically do that. Try and get into hills for a weekend, at least once in a block, leading up to a race. That might be twice or even every weekend leading up to it, depending on. So you've definitely got to get that specificity, 100%. Again, I don't know if you're coached or if you coach yourself, but if you coach yourself, try and get it in your plan. So, at least one in a block, try and get 1 to 2 in, maybe even more building up to training. I appreciate it's hard. I don't know if you've got family life, work, whatever. It's really difficult, but you've definitely got to make that commitment to it. Things you can do to help with that in terms of training, so strength training, particularly when you're so squatting with weight is helpful. So when you're squatting with weight, if you're going fast up, so you're exploding out, but then very slowly squatting down. I don't know why I'm doing it. I hope you're watching the YouTube versions because I'm moving
and I'm
with
doing the sick emoji face.
Yeah. So you want to be that can help with replicate some of the muscles that the work that the quads are going to do with descent training. So fast up, nice, slow down with your squats. The other thing with recovery, I'm a massive fan of walking. And by the way, like if you're maxing out on a race, everything's going to hurt afterwards. You're going to feel like death after a race if you're going into it.
If you don't have the handle on your car above your seat to get in and out, you're not going to be able to get in and out. That's the aim for after an ultra.
It really is normal to feel like bad. I mean, sometimes the races I've done, I've honestly felt like I will never run again.
You don't know how people live, and you watch everyone like going around Sainsbury's, and you're like,
I know, yeah.
People are amazing. They can walk so fast and bend to pick things up. I'm never doing that again.
I think you've got to learn to love the suffering. I absolutely love the suffering. I mean, feeling like death afterwards, I'm like, yes, that's what it's all about. My kids, not so much. But
no
yeah,
sympathy.
so the biggest tip I would say in terms of recovery is walking. So just do as much easy walking to get you to start getting the muscles moving, and that will help with recovery and flushing out all the toxins and all the water retention.
And just because you finish, don't keep fueling like you are racing. Yeah. So keep the electrolyte, drinking and eating, like even when you often as well. A couple of things you're going to do. You're going to feel really hungry and then not hungry at all. So respond to that. Feel really hungry. You might have a bit of a binge and then be like, I can't eat anymore. But really listen to your hunger cues. But don't listen to your thirst. Just keep drinking the electrolytes as much as you can, because I think I often feel better the more I just keep that fluid going in. That's going to help the rehydration of the tissues and everything. And you might, or probably we'll all agree, the night sweats can often be pretty horrendous post an ultra too. Yeah.
Get the weekends in your blocks. They're super important, and increase those as you get closer to the race. Make sure you're doing with your strength training that you're doing the weighted squats and you're going fast up, slow down, and that will help with it. And you can also do that with steps in terms of reverse steps down as well. So it's slowing down those movements. And recovery, you've got to walk, sleep, eat.
Protein in. And though we've said like you can't replicate in the gym this downhill action.
No, you can't.
You can.
I'm with Russell on that.
We can't. Yeah. You can make your body as strong as possible. So don't think when the message we're not giving here is you don't need to go to the gym. You need to put your body into the mountains being strong and robust, and that will help. It will help the quads. It will all help. It will all help the conditioning, the core, even the upper body, even the arms. If you say you're using poles, you can do work in the gym. Hammer curls, they're your best friends. If you're going to be poling up and down Lakeland, you're going to be doing this action for, it can be some of those climbs can be like up to an hour. So work that as well in the gym. So
Ellie, you might need to describe that action if they're not on YouTube.
I was doing I always think of it as like the Lego guys in Ninjago.
Yes.
The way they move, but I do a lot of that, and I prescribe a lot of that of hammer curls with weights. One, it makes you look really cool in the gym because it makes it look like you've got big biceps.
You look really cool.
Yeah, thanks. But it's also if you are going to be carrying poles, and it's hard to do the action because as you're poling, you're obviously putting your body weight through the pole to then push up the hill. And so if you've got weight in your hand in the gym, you're almost doing that same sort of, it's an all over
And using your poles for descending as well. It's just
she
a bit
mentioned
of a hot
that, didn't she?
topic.
She says she's got some poles, and
So,
if you watched any of the World Trail Championships on YouTube and you watched the Europeans using their poles on descending, if you're from a skiing background or anything like that, it's obviously much easier because you're kind of used to the pole plant. But again, if you get out for some recce's and practice like how you like, some people don't like to use them because they find they can't like bend into the climb and be quick enough. And there is a slight danger aspect if you're not used to using them and then you drag them behind you and catch them on something. But again, it's all practice. This is all practice.
Poles have saved my knees. I've got terrible knees that really hate descents, and poles have saved my knees on a number of races. Just being able to continue and do okay. So I'm a massive fan of poles, and I think when you use them efficiently and effectively, they can make a big difference to your race and your ability to continue when you're in a lot of pain.
And they're good for pointing stuff, like
hitting other runners.
Getting rid of cows. There's never a bad moment.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to get rid of a cow with a pole.
That's what I do. Go on, at you go, Fluffy. Cowbell, Daisy.
We must have different cows.
Alpine cows are quite different to the English and Welsh cows. Like the alpine cows, they're not going anywhere. Rebecca, what's your tips for terrible quad gnar?
Well, I think obviously everyone has said everything that really needs to be said. It's strength and conditioning. I can't emphasize that enough, really. And particularly, as you say, when you're using poles, we've really got to think of running not just as a lower body activity, but it's a whole body activity, including your brain, isn't it? So I think training all of those areas is really important, and certainly squatting with weight is really important. So not just sort of body weight exercises, but things where you're going using weight to really replicate those slow eccentric control of your quads, because that's what it is. It's that constant braking forward and downhill. So all of the strength exercises you can do to maximize that's really important. And specificity on actually running hard downhill and practice running hard downhill for a technique perspective, but also for a strength perspective, and then to be able to tolerate that over long periods of time. Core work's really important, calf work, all of that, all of the muscles above and below the quads are really important. So it's a full-time job, isn't it?
I was going to say
all of these things, but
it might feel a bit overwhelming if you're listening to this going, oh no, where do I start? Often one of the easiest ways is to fit this in is just take out one of your easy runs and swap that over completely and it doesn't need to be complicated, the strength work for conditioning your body. Like we said, squats are key, calves are key. Keep it super simple, but just don't think I need to add this all in. Just maybe take out a little bit of the running. Trish, you as the other thing, and Rebecca just touched on it, is to just have a little think about your technique running downhill as well, because if you are braking a lot, this will make the DOMs set in early. If you can get out on the route as well, you can just have a little look at the way you're flowing downhill. You don't need to. We've made it out that you need to blast every downhill to smash the quads. Just running the downhill easy will do its job. If you're not confident about running downhill, or you only got limited time on downhill, you can always break up the downhill as well and go, I'm going to run this a little bit faster. I'm going to relax and run this slow and recover. So you can use your training as well to sort of fast push that. Give yourself DOMs basically, and then let them recover. I hope that's helped.
I've got one on the form.
Yes, do it. You'll have some incredible Kenyan secret knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, the Kenyans, I'd be very interested to see how a Kenyan would do in a mountain race here in Snowdonia with the technical stuff. I think it would take them a while to learn. There was a Kenyan who came out to Snowdon race, and he bombed. It didn't go well at all, and they paid for his flight and everything. So the specificity there does go beyond heart and lung capacity. So but then have you seen Kenan Isibekele? He's got these thighs like massive. I think he would do really well in Dragon's Back. But I was really bad. Honestly, I was really bad at descending, and now, as everyone knows, I'm really amazing. And how I got to that point was I watched the best descenders, fell runners, and how they were doing it, and I noticed a few things they were doing differently. And one was faster steps. It does seem to be a tendency, if you're new to it or if you're a road runner like I was, to like almost leap or bound. And that really gets the DOMs, when you're taking those multitudes of body weight, faster feet, keeping your feet fast. And that is a neurological thing. So what I actually did was I put music in my ears and I would run in beat to that music down the hill. And like Eddie said, I could only do it for periods of time, like reps, and I had to stop and then break it up and then get better at it over time. But really keeping your feet fast down the hill. If you see the best trail runners, certainly in this country, they've got incredibly fast cadence when they're coming down the hill.
If you haven't got a big hill as well, is you can go from side to side. So you can like almost zigzag to keep the fast feet. So you practice like turning the fast feet. You sort of imagine, I've done that. I was the same when I moved out here, Russell, and I did like my first European trail races, and I was like, "Well, guys, wait, you guys are going so fast." And it's the feet speed and the brain. Yeah, it's something you've either got it or you haven't got it, and you have to teach yourself to do it. But you definitely can teach yourself to do it. The music is get some do.
Yeah, people would always say that trail runners are big into that. You've got it or you don't, and that is nonsense.
No, I don't. Yeah, I agree.
Like learning a musical instrument, neural patterns, you can train them and they get bigger and stronger. And now, as I said, I'm amazing at running downhill, so it worked for me.
Works for Russell, it works for anything. Trish, let us know how Lakeland 50 goes, and I hope that's helpful.
Good luck.
Good luck. You got this. Go smash the quads. Can't get out the car next morning. That's your aim.
This week's guest interview is Grant Smaley. Grant is from ultratrails.co.uk. Fascinating to hear from a race director. Yeah, I was super keen to get a race director on that. We always champion and give the athletes a voice, but to hear from the other side of the start line, it's a really good perspective. And I really love Ultra Trails' approach to putting on races, championing local companies, equality on the start line, and stunning routes too.
This week, we're delighted to welcome Grant Smaley to the podcast. I might change this question a bit, Gary. I'm going to ask, where are you? Have you been for a run today? And tell us about the map behind you.
Hello, Gary and Eddie. So,
hi, Grant.
I'm not working today. I've got a day off. I wanted to commit a full day for you guys.
Oh, stop this now.
So, because you're so important, I wanted to make sure.
I think previous and future podcast guests should be listening to this and also should take such pride in their performance.
So outside my view, I've got a back garden. It backs onto some lovely fields, and I've got a trampoline which I've never tried before. Maybe I should do.
Have you got kids, or do you just love trampolining?
Yeah, absolutely. It worked out to be a really good garden feature, but it's not really working. It's going a bit mouldy, a bit mossy. But it doesn't
the grass underneath
with
too.
The feel. Exactly. But the cat sits under the trampoline.
Oh.
Okay. So I've got two boys who are grown up, 22 and 19.
You don't look old enough, Grant, to have grown up.
Don't do that to me. And then Mel's got two girls, 11 and 9. Well, no, sorry, I've got the ages wrong. They're 10 and 8.
Oh,
they're going to be 11 and 9 this year. Busy house. So I used to spend my days watching my children play FIFA, and now kind of step along the front room carpet trying to avoid Barbie shoes. And
quite different. 2 boys and then
completely, exactly.
Girls. Yeah. And have you been for a run today?
No. So I was meant to go for a run yesterday, but I went out for dinner with my son. We went to York. We went to Star in the city where he works. And I kid you not, a hot dog, some hash brown doodars, a couple of drinks, 50 quid. Yeah, it's counted by 20%. I'm like, you're having a laugh, aren't you? So I'm like, we went to a little bar and he paid, and then we went to here and I'm like, oh, I'll pay this one. And,
he's not stupid. He was like,
exactly.
Dad, I'll get these drinks.
Exactly. So today I'm going to, after this podcast, I'm going to go for a run, and where else but the Yorkshire Wolds. And for anybody watching YouTube, I've got a map behind me. So the Yorkshire Wolds, can you see my finger?
Yeah.
Just there. So you're just above York. So it's in between York and the Yorkshire Moors. It's weird because not many people know about the Yorkshire Wolds, but when you do, you do. And it's a really good runnable area. So people who might live in Driffield or Pocklington or Beverley or Market Wheaton, they can literally step out their door and they've got tremendous running hilly stuff. And it's weird because you might travel from, say, York to Bridlington, and you're going along the road and you're like, this is just farmland. But actually, if you're a passenger and you look beyond the horizon, you've got amazing hidden valleys. And that's what makes the Yorkshire Wolds really unique.
And can you sort of like, is it lots of footpaths, or you can sort of like cross it?
So every single valley, it's mostly bridleway. So you don't get a lot of horse riders, but it's
a lovely track.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really chalky. So yes, it does get muddy, but it's really good runnable ground. But people are really surprised by how hilly it is. So yes, we haven't got mountains like the lakes or the moors, but it's really up and down. So a lot of people that do our events are really surprised how hilly it is and how difficult it is. So you haven't got a lot of flatness. We've also got some infamous, what we call it, Fimber Fields. So, and a lot of local people who might know, it starts from Fimber and you go towards Wetwang, and you go diagonally across up to 7 fields and then beyond. And sometimes it can be quite difficult because in winter it's quite muddy, and you start off at the bottom wearing size 9s or 10s, and you end up being size 15.
That's the worst. That's the worst.
But mostly it's grass and it's chalk and it's fields, bit of road, but not hideously. But yeah, absolutely amazing. So we try to, most weekends, what we do, we normally head out to the Wolds, and before each of our events, we tend to do part of the route. So we're continuously almost recceing our routes. I mean, we know it off by heart. We know every single blade of grass and every single route and every single hill, but it's making sure there's no hazards there on the route before event day. And a perfect example would be, we recently had a fallen tree on the route at the start, and that would have caused major problems. And we actually had somebody reach out to us and say, hey, Grant, we've got a fallen tree. Contacted East Riding Council, got it removed, no problem whatsoever. So it's really good to actually
the caretaker of the
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's good to actually share photos to runners. So we've got a really good Strava following, and on Facebook as well. So it's good to actually say to runners who haven't taken part in our events before, or who have got an event coming up, to see your actual race director running the routes, because if we don't love it, how can we expect someone else to love it?
Let's rewind a bit and go, like, we know you're a race director, we know you like running. How did Ultra Trails come about? What is Ultra Trails, people will be thinking? Is this a team? Is these races? Where did the idea come from? Where did it sort of, and where is it now?
So I've got 10 years ultramarathon experience running ultramarathons. I've got maybe 60-ish, probably about 40 in the last 4 years or so.
Crikey.
Whereas my partner Mel, so Ultra Trails is Grant and Mel. We could call it Grant and Mel, but it's not very appealing. So if you said to your better half, hey, we're going to spend 14 hours with Grant and Mel, yeah, I'm not sure it'll go down that well, to be honest.
It depends what you're looking for from your weekend. Exactly.
I mean, we're not. We're really happy. So
let's make it clear, Eddie. This is a running podcast.
Exactly. So Ultra Trails we wanted to pick a really catchy name, and it actually came about because we had almost a branch off of Ultra Trails, but we actually scaled it back because we wanted to walk before we could run, no pun intended. And we called it Ultra Trails because, I mean, how simple can you get? It says what it does. So Ultra Trails is Grant and Mel. So it's a really good combination of somebody who has got a lot of experience in actually running ultras, and somebody who actually is a beginner. Mel started her running journey only a few years ago. Up to 2019, she'd only ever ran a 5K.
Okay.
And now she's got 6 ultras under her belt. So it's almost like I'm representing the mid-pack runner. Sometimes
Yes.
I get lucky. Males representing female runners, but also males representing somebody who likes to spend a lot more time on their trails and isn't concerned about numbers or stats or performance. She just wants to get out there, take her time, walk when she can, run when she can, and not have to worry about cut-offs or time. And all she should be concerned about is actually running it and not looking at her watch to
I
an
love
adventure.
that. Absolutely. Funnily enough, we talked about we just recorded the podcast earlier, and we talked about even John Albom, who was at the World Trail Championship, said, "I'm not sure I enjoy racing anymore. I think I want to look at an adventure." And I think loads of people will relate to that they want to do a race, as in they want a route, they want the checkpoints, they want the experience, something to aim for. But are they, like 99% of people doing these ultras, are they bothered about their time and their position?
Exactly. And a perfect example would be, yes, you can. Sometimes a tight cutoff is part of the challenge, isn't it? So if you have 8 hours, it's difficult, and that's part of the appeal. Or you might have tight checkpoint cutoff times, but for a fast runner, does it really matter whether it's 8 hours or 12 hours? They're going to take 4 or 5 hours. So what does it matter? So for us, it's all about having the right balance, and not just providing ultras for beginners or slower runners, but it's also providing ultras for everybody. And that's what it's about, really.
I've done it twice, and I've got to say it was quite stressful. And I don't think I do it as a job or a career. Yeah, why become a race director? And I think it was, I'm right in thinking maybe 2021, 2022. You entered into this, so that was just after. Well, COVID was still going on, or is still going on. But from the outside looking in, that seems like, well, this might not be a great time to do. But yeah, what motivated you to do it?
I mean, we probably joined at the worst time possible, but when is a good time? And Mel and I work full time, and it might be a surprise to some people, because when we speak to people one-to-one, they go, "Oh, do you do it full time?" It's like, no, we've got full-time jobs, we've got children to look after. We like everybody else, where we've got to fit running into our lives, family stuff, work, and we just do it as a passion, really. So I'm not really materialistic. I don't care about a title. I don't care about salary. I'm not driven by money. It's a good job, because events don't actually make money.
They really don't make money, actually, do they? Because I think I do, obviously, and you probably agree, Grant, that there's some very expensive races, not mentioning big companies out there, but there's some very expensive races that you're paying like £10 per 100 meters. But you have a lot of outlay costs, don't you, as an RD? What are the costs involved? Because I think a lot of people don't realise as well how much work goes on the scene, but what you sort of have to also plan and pay out before the races even happened.
So a good example would be for our next event, which is sold out, 90% still cost. We only actually broke even when we got to 80 runners. So we capped at 150. You can separate it into two buckets, if you like. So the first bucket is you've got fixed costs. So it doesn't matter how many people enter, you've got to pay for those fixed costs.
Okay, yeah.
And we're talking about $1 or $2 grand before you even start. You've got venue costs, you've got insurance, you've got permits, you've got first aiders. So even if just 10 people turn up to your event, it's Armageddon, because how can you actually afford to take it on board? We've held 3 events so far, and we're still running at a loss. It cost us out of our own personal money £1,000 to put on an event for 50 runners for our first event. Oh, wow. So it is difficult. And then you've got cost per runner. So you've got T-shirt costs, if applicable, you've got tracker costs, you've got medals, you've got checkpoint food, and all that adds up. I mean, for us, it's not about, we're not doing this to run a business. We're not doing it to make a lot of money. We're doing it to make sure what we care about is it's self-sufficient. So we can't put in money in it forever, as much as we'd love to. It's not.
We'd love to pay for all of you people to go running.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But costs are ridiculous, and you can see why for a lot of event organisers, they do really struggle. And sometimes some of the best events are the smaller events. And you're right in terms of, and I'm not just talking about events, but generally the way the world works is if it's in demand or it's difficult to get hold of, people capitalize on it and it becomes more expensive. You see some events like a 10K where it costs 80 quid. I'm not being funny, but someone's taking the mickey. And it shouldn't be about profiteering. It's not about excessive profits. If you're doing it to make a lot of money, I don't think you're doing it for the right reasons.
Some of them are businesses, though. There is two different. There's like yourself, like Hardmoors, like Punk Panthers, Trail Outlaws. They are run by a core team of individuals who love the trails too. While there are some where you see some events, I'm not even going to name any of them. Don't want to throw anybody in their bus, but their head office might be somewhere in London, which is completely separate to where they're actually hosting the event. So yeah, it's super tricky. Do you have to pay the landowner? Would you say pay the National Trust if you ran over their land, or is that completely vary?
So we no, you don't have to. We pay for each event. Maybe we should start that conversation. I feel a bit guilty because actually it feels like I'm dissing event organisers when I'm not trying to.
No. You're coming across as RD that organises races from the heart, and you're at the core of your race is the runner, and that is what will make runners come back time and time again. That will make what other runners come back is because it's runner led rather than money led, numbers in, numbers out the door, because they're not, they're not sustainable. And it's why 90, lots of us won't do races like that. And I think as more and more people experience those massive races as well, they reflect and go, did I enjoy queuing for 20 minutes to get over a spire? Did I enjoy having my water rationed? Did I enjoy not being able to park? There's enough for everybody to go round. Before we chat anymore, can you just tell us about the races? Because we've talked about presuming that everybody knows what are the races that you mentioned 3 races, distances. What sort of things can people expect?
Yeah, so we started in 2022. And we've held 3 events so far, and we now have 3 events per year. So we've got an ultra in April, and we held the second edition a few weeks ago, and that's called the World Rangers Way Ultra, and that starts and ends in Driffield, and it's a 44 miler. And it probably
love a race with 40 something.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not too long. It's not 50. It's not a cheeky ultra. It's bang in the middle. And it's got about 3,600 feet of climb, which is reasonable. A bit of road, so it's about 25% road, but not an A road. You're not running against traffic and lorries.
The A9.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the A1.
Yeah, we've actually got a lovely 5-kilometre stretch from just past Warren Percy, and you go down a road to Fimber village, which is a checkpoint for 2 of our events. And it's a 5-kilometre road, but you actually get to witness sides of cliffs, chalk cliffs, and you don't see any cars down there, and it's absolutely amazing. So even though you've got a road, which people might go, oh dear, I only like trail, it's perfect. You get to stretch your legs.
Tricky trainer choice, though. Then trainer choice.
Exactly. Yeah, good point. And we did have a runner, because we do drop bags. We actually let them leave their trainers there as well in Fimber village, and they actually transitioned from road trainers to trail trainers.
So there are some people taking this quite seriously, then.
Absolutely. And the World Rangers is probably a really good transition event for people who might be road runners who want to actually experience trails for the first time, or don't mind road because they probably live in inner cities. But actually it's a really good clash, because you've got not just road, but also you've got loads of hidden valleys that I was talking about before. So you actually go through 9 valleys, and when you're in a valley, it's really hard to describe, but you could be miles from anywhere, but you are really close to civilization. You've got a sheep, and you've got steep sides, and you get to walk and run down these valleys, and you'll see some photos on the actual event pages on our website, and you see little people down a valley, and you're like, this is humongous, and it is. It's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, we've got the World Rangers, and the World Rangers is about more than any of our events supporting local businesses. And our second event in particular was so joined up. So what we want to do is support local businesses and community. And we tried it for our first event, but it's difficult saying, hey, look at Ultra Trails, look at us, because who knows who we are. And what we did actually do was, for the second event, we actually diverted our first checkpoint to a campsite. So we got to know the local farmers. And what it meant was we had an extra toilet facility. So we had eco-friendly toilets at the campsite. We made the actual checkpoint genuinely crew friendly. So we had parking provision for crew, and we actually had we had Yorkshire Wolds runners supporting our checkpoint. So we had a nice tent pitched up, and next to the tent we had fenced off cows. So as people came up the field, they were being cheered on by Yorkshire Wold runners, by cows, by crew. Absolutely amazing.
Especially cows behind a fence. They're my favourite.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, could you imagine, hey, runners, you've got to do 44 miles, plus you've got to jump over cows. So, yeah. And then we had each and every single checkpoint was supported by a local running club or a local event organizer. So it's always been my vision, particularly, to make sure that every single checkpoint is supported by a local running club, because it actually makes sure that everyone's included as part of the event. What we tried to do was we wanted to do the complete opposite of rocking up somewhere and using all their facilities and then just going home. So it's a complete polar opposite. And what we also do is we make sure that we buy local. So Driftfield in particular, we make sure that all the medals are made locally. So they're made in Driftfield. We make sure the T-shirts are made in Driftfield as well. The actual, we give out trophies, and they're not just any trophy. If Carlsberg made trophies.
I've seen them. I've seen the pictures of the trophy. They look awesome.
Yeah. So if you can imagine, and this is where we talk about, we're not just about beginners, but also everybody. So these are genuine waymark posts that have lived in the Wolds for years. They're reclaimed, they're partially sand washed, and you've got a waymark post with the actual genuine waymarker on the actual trophy. And this is utilising a local charity. So you actually run past Driftfield Men in Sheds as you go to the end. So you're actually running past the local people who made your trophy for you, which is absolutely amazing. What we also do is we wanted to make sure we incorporated the high street as well. So people, male and female runners who podium, not only get an amazing trophy, but they also get each £30 worth of high street vouchers to use in local shops. And our events is also about supporting local charities as well. So we support the Wold Rangers Way charity. So the actual Wold Rangers Way was only created in 2021 by Mark Blakeston. He's a local councillor in Driftfield and Rural, and he set up the charity. So we give money to the Wold Rangers Way charity, and they do great things to support and encourage walkers in the local area who might otherwise not take part in those activities. We also support local food banks as well. So we give money to a local food bank in Driftfield, but we also have a collection at the start. So we collect food from runners to give to the food bank.
Great idea.
And we also work with Pre-Loved Sports in every single of our events, where we have a pop-up shop where we can, but also have a drop-off box even for recycled or unused running stuff. So it could be T-shirts, it could be equipment, and that can be used for runners who maybe can't afford equipment, and all the money goes to charity as well.
Is it so you've got three races on offer at the moment? Is there a race series? Can people enter all three? Is there like a what do you call it when you do
Grand Slam?
We don't. No, I've only spoken about one event so far.
I know I'm ahead of you, because I was like, I started looking at. I was like, I'm going to look and see what this beautiful, it's like lovely trails. And then I was like, your website is it's so user friendly. It's somebody very clever has put it all together. So you quickly get all the information, but it's super easy, because sometimes you go on, like, if you like, maybe even you're not doing the race, you want to find results, you got a mate doing it or something, and you're like, it's got Gary's, it's answered all your questions that Gary wants to ask in a minute, because it's like recce routes, GPX, like it's super clear. And I'm sure now, having talked to you for half an hour, this is all purposeful. It's really super friendly to to use. And you've got Yorkshire Wolds Ultra 50k, Chalkland Way Ultra 40 miles in November. Everyone looks a little bit colder in that picture, and the Wolds ranges, but they're not combined. They're all separate.
Exactly.
Races.
So first of all, the website, going back to Ultra Trails being Grant and Mel, the website isn't anybody else's. I designed it myself.
I see now. Web design by Grant.
Yeah,
Hey.
and I had a Scooby I had no Scooby even about designing websites.
Oh, because I was going to say, is this your job? Because
No. A year ago, I built a website using IONOS for 12 quid. Didn't have a clue. Before we began, we did some competitor analysis, which is business analysis jargon, which is what I do.
Gary, we need to do some of this. Gary does it every week. He listens to the podcast and he goes, "We're still up there, Eddie." Throw you under the bus there.
Don't say that.
You might actually notice we talk about your podcast on our homepage. We are proud to support you. So that's okay. We did some analysis and we were going to not have a website, but we realised every single event organiser, apart from one person, didn't. We also wanted to find out about T-shirts and about medals and what was the price and what is the average price, and we wanted to make sure we pitched it at a lower price to make it affordable. What we had to do and what we realised was we do need a website because, like you say before, you don't want to be as a runner, you don't want to enter an event and go, right, what the hell do I do now?
Yeah.
What's all the information? And you've got to have a single point of truth. You've got to go somewhere, you've got to get all the information. And that's why we do dedicate a lot of time to make sure our website is as clear as what it can be, because it is so, so important.
Is that you with a ponytail in sitting on
Yeah, my hair's a bit shorter now.
Yeah, you've got a bit more chic, a little more
You've got to make it so easy for runners.
Yeah.
You've got to assume that people may be not familiar with using these interfaces. So yeah, if it's a super easy infrastructure via Facebook or a website, I know some races are very fond of it. I think I had to enter by check or bank transfer, and that caused a bit of a social media debate. So yeah, make it as easy as possible. I know you said you do work full time, and this is part-time. Then is it a constant part-time? Are you always thinking or planning whatever the next race is, or just managing that current race you're on?
Yeah, so the benefit of having a clear website is we don't get a lot of questions.
That's what I was going to ask. I was like, this is on purpose because it's all there. Because you obviously, I'm good friends with James, who's the RD of the Centurion running, and he is just inundated with hundreds and hundreds of emails every day. He actually, how do you manage?
We just manage around work, so lunch breaks or evenings or weekends, and it's not full time. However, you go through waves of effort. So we have spanned our events 12 weeks apart, and we give ourselves a break in winter, and we don't have the experience to hold a winter event yet. So we tend to tail off a little bit, and then 8 weeks before it starts to ramp up. But what people forget is you're not just organising your events coming up, you're also concurrently organising next year's event as well, or partially, because the last thing that you want is to have a massive void between your event finishing and the next event. So I'm doing 2 events at one time, which is so difficult. Yeah. So, and I do it in blocks. So we have an 8-week before phase, a 6-week before phase, and then a 4-week before phase. And then that last week is absolutely horrendous. People say, well done, Grant and Mel, enjoy your day off, i.e. Sunday after the event. It's not a day.
Clear up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. 5 days of complete and utter stress. And by event day, I've got a 22-year-old son, but I look about 60 by event day itself. I look absolutely horrendous. So I need some magic makeup to make myself look at least half decent.
You're perfect.
I was looking for a compliment. So well done there. To do event organising, you've got to love all of it. So you can't just cherry pick all the good bits. It's not just about ordering some medals and then just shaking people's hands at the end. You've got to take all of it. And I absolutely enjoy organising. I enjoy stress. My job is stressful. I enjoy it.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Gary and I, we don't do well with stress, do we, Gary?
Nope. The wheels fall off quite quick.
The most important thing is to have a plan, document it, and we just chip it away bit by bit. It's all about bite-sized chunks, and it's no different to planning to take part in an event,
like running a race. Yeah,
exactly. So if you're not going to rock up tomorrow and just run a race, are you? You've got to do loads of preparation, and as long as you put in the preparation, the actual event day should all be about a celebration of what the hard work you put in, and it's no different to event organising. So the event itself should be an absolute celebration of all the hard work you put in. Yes, event day is mega busy, and whilst I do a lot of the heavy lifting before the events, and only because Mel's she's a full-time worker, she's got 2 children to look after, she's got to fit running in there, she's an enabler for what I do, so we are an equal partnership. And then on event day, she does more than what I do. So it swings and roundabouts.
What has been your biggest challenge so far as an RD? Is there a story or a moment when you thought, righty?
For Chalkland Way, which we haven't spoken about yet, but Chalkland Way, our first event in November, I remember being in a field at 11 o'clock at night, in my plimsolls, no head torch, trying to put up signage, thinking, what am I doing? And then I had to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning next morning. But I was actually, I was actually laughing at myself because I was in that predicament, and I committed to everybody. I was going to put signage in certain places, but you kind of forget how much time goes into putting up signage. And on that actual date, I only had half a day off for the whole week before, and it takes 3 days preparation to do an event, and I had the afternoon off, and I had to cram it all in an afternoon before event day, which was bonkers, but I absolutely loved it. The absolute biggest challenge, particularly in our first event, was volunteers. So it does give you nightmares, because without volunteers, we don't have an event to take part in. We can't do it ourselves. We are lucky in terms of our support. So we've got Hardmoors who have been an absolute godsend. That we now have a Hardmoors checkpoint at our events.
I love that.
Yeah, and they also gave us a platform for our first event as well. So John and Shirley, they do great things to support local events. And they've got 15 years ultra experience, and it almost feels like they're the godparents of ultra running. I
love that philosophy, though. They could be maybe quite selfish with what they've got, but instead of that, they've always pulled up another chair to the table and said, let's all get involved. I love that philosophy.
Yeah, and what we were conscious of, because we were friends with Hardmoors and also Punk Panther events as well, and I've done a lot of their events. I took Shirley to one side before we actually went live and said, look, this is what we're doing. We're not going to tread on your toes. Not that we can compete, but we're not trying to play in your backyard. This is what we're doing. And also Punk as well. And it goes a long way, and it's all about respect. But yeah, Hardmoors have been a platform, Punk Panther as well. I've learned so much from them because I've done about 30 of their events. So I gained a lot of experience that way, but they also volunteer at our events as well. We've got the local running clubs, we've got Driffield Striders, we've got Pocklington Runners, and even though I'm not part of their club, I feel like a honorary club member. They've been really, really supportive. We've got Yorkshire Wards Runners, and we've got Silverback Trails as well, and they're based in the moors. But there's also local people. So I said before about our vision is each checkpoint supported by a local runner. We also want to make sure the local community is involved as well. So at registration and at the end, we've got local people making cups of tea and they're cheering on people. And unlike some events, we don't give out credits, but instead we give out a charitable donation, just to make sure if you do volunteer, you don't have to be a runner.
Yeah, you get something back. Yeah,
exactly. It's big
very
shout out.
French, this, Grant, because the French local trail races, they're all run by the community, and the volunteers are people, it goes past their house, so they do the water stuff, and then the prizes are always like the local cheese, and then they get everyone up on the stage who've made the cheese, who've made the honey, who've made the ham, who've run 80 miles, and you're like, my God, I'm not even going to eat this ham, just give it to me. Or it's like cowbells, and it's all, I love that, it's all involving everybody. I imagine it makes the race smoother because you're not having controversy. People get something, but everyone's getting something back.
I'd look forward to certain checkpoints. I know I can relate to, say, Hardmoors and the Lakeland 100, that there's certain checkpoints you're going to get a cheese toasty at Tilbuthwaite.
Yeah, exactly. And it means that they can actually own it.
The ownership, and year after year it will develop a little bit more. And
exactly. And it's good if you're a runner and you're part of a local running club, particularly Pocklington runners, because for our next event in July, the Yorkshire Wolds runners, Yorkshire Wolds Way. No, what's it called? Yorkshire Wolds Ultra. There we go.
Your race, buddy.
Yeah, my race, the one I should know off by heart.
50K.
I've said too many Yorkshires and Wolds during this conversation.
You've done brilliant.
10% of the entrants, we have 150, are Pocklington runners.
I was going to ask, do the runners then volunteer and perhaps not done it and then go, I can do this?
Yeah, exactly. And we make sure that the biggest local running club are part of the main checkpoint, the indoor checkpoint. So I don't know if, Gary, have you done the Hard Wolds 80, the Yorkshire Wolds Way?
I've not done that one.
No. Do you know Fixendale?
No, I've never gone that far south. Okay. Well, I have gone that far south, but not as a race.
No, I've never gone that. No, just Durham, remember? Durham, Newcastle, Darlington.
Filey, I think, is far.
Sometimes York.
But you know what? One day, Gary, you might be on our start line, so we're gonna we'll give
I'd
you
love to,
we're gonna write on a bottle on our dandelion and burdock bottle, Gary, and then Eddie, we're gonna have you a quiche at the halfway point at the end as well.
I can have it at the end. I'm not sure halfway. Okay. I could. I'm not sure I could get a quiche down. But I do love a bit of a quiche.
Well, I love the distances. You know, we talked about this on the show. Actually, our favourite distance, and 40 miles, 44 miles, and 50k. It's like, yeah, that's a good day out, a good bit of work, but it's not 100 mile or a 200 mile. Some days.
It's a couple of days. Like if you've run that on the road, it's heinous. But if you run on the trail and it's undulating, it can be if you're not racing, it could be your long run, and you can but I know this sounds, if you've not done ultras, that sounds ridiculous. You're like, Eddie, that is ridiculous.
You've got a race, Eddie. You've seen
it's
the
also
trophies.
if you've not done an ultra, but you've got a bit of marathon experience as well. It's like once you're over the sort of 30 miles, the marathon, you are starting to go towards the finish.
Yeah.
Whereas 50, you've still got quite a long way to go. So
are those elevation ratios, because it does seem quite runnable, the elevation you mentioned earlier against the distance, does that play out similar between all the events, or are some of them quite spectacular?
Yeah, so the World Rangers Way is, I've just deleted my notes, is 3,000.
I can tell you, I can put some really good webpage I can pull up for you.
Oh, can you? There you go.
I can read you the stats.
Chalkland Way Ultra is in November. That's 40 miles. That's 3,900. But the Yorkshire Wolds Ultra, 50k, 3,700. So whilst the World Rangers and Chalkland Way are recognised routes and they are popular in the area, the Yorkshire Wolds Ultra is one that we actually created ourselves.
I was going to ask that, how you designed a route, yeah.
Yeah, and actually, exciting news. We actually got a way marker designed by a local designer today. We actually got it sent to us, awesome. Which is really good news. But we actually created it ourselves, and what we wanted to do was take you off some of the national trails and some of the popular parts of the Wolds, and it is absolutely amazing. And on some events, you kind of go, "Oh, this bit's a bit dodgy."
Yeah. I hate this bit.
Yeah, but there's literally no single part that is boring. What we do is, before each event is published, it goes through a MEL test. So for the Yorkshire Wolds, we got MEL to recce it at the same time of year last year. So in summer, didn't know the route, so we downloaded the watch. Downloaded the route on the watch, and she actually experienced it from a runner's point of view.
I love it. What a great idea.
Yeah, so we actually got to take photos, and we did a course overview for people to see as well, because you want to picture yourself in the event itself. Literally every single word from Mel's mouth was wow. It's absolutely amazing.
That's the route description. Wow.
Yeah, just wow. And it took Mel 9 hours 20 minutes to do it, and that's where the cutoff comes in. And what we want to avoid is those last 5 kilometers. We don't want people to go, "I've got 10 minutes. Am I going to make it?"
Yeah.
You've got battles with your feet, with your head, with your mind. You want to quit. What we don't want is a battle with time. And we want people to finish with an hour to go, with 2 hours to go. We want people to go, actually, I've got a 5k to go. yeah, I'm struggling, but I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to look up, I'm going to look at the views. I'm not going to stress about time. I'm going to finish. I'm going to actually be in the moment, experience the pain, because pain is good. Battles are good. It's part of the experience. And, ultras aren't easy. But yeah, that's what we want people to experience. And that's why for the Yorkshire World Ultra, it's 12 hours cut off, which is pretty unbelievable. Some people claim to have a generous cut-off time, and it's 6 hours. It's not generous at all. If Mel can't do it in 10 hours, we don't expect anyone else to do it in 10 hours. And we had 2 hours more to make sure there's that comfort. And everyone might finish in 8 hours, but then we might have one person who's going to take 12 hours.
Yeah.
And if you finish with 10 minutes to go, you're 10 minutes early. You finish, have a cup of tea, have some hobnobs, chill out. We don't have to lock the door at 10 o'clock.
Something I hear a lot from clients as well, if they are back of the pack, is that the race is being cleared up around them and they get to checkpoints and there's nothing left. And I know that's a lot of people's fear. They're being, not only are they chasing the time, but then they're not welcomed at checkpoints. The finish, everybody's gone and they feel a bit like, come on, we want to all go home now. But I love that picture you're painting, that everybody is there, the time, everyone's there for the adventure, not for the time.
And for us, and you talked about the series, and we don't want a series because each event in its own right is an experience. It's a standalone event. Each one's different, each one's special. And for us, it's all about creating an amazing experience. It should be an experience regardless of gender, regardless of speed, regardless of experience, regardless of your diet, regardless of affordability. And all those are really, really key points. What's so important to us is our start line is equal. And that means so many different things. When you go to work, you've got a mixture of people who are forced together, and you've got as many male as female. You've got people, different shapes and sizes. And that's what a start line should be. If a female turns up to a start line, I want them to look up and go, there's loads of women around me. I feel safe. I feel like I belong. If you're a bloke, if you're a fast runner, you want to have some competition. If you're like me and you're a mid-pack runner, I want to make sure I don't look out of place. And that's what the start line should be about. So we do go to a lot of effort to make sure our start line is equal. And if we don't achieve that, we need to work a little bit harder.
From your point of view, how do you limit male entries over, say, so the more equity on the start line?
So we, when we started, when we did our first event, it was capped at 50 runners, and obviously we didn't have a budget, was making a loss anyway, but we had to cap how much we lost, and we couldn't afford an indoor checkpoint. But we were really conscious about making sure there's toilets on the route, not just at the start and finish. I mean, for a bloke, it's quite easy. We can just pop in the woods and just go for a wee. But what if you're a woman? What if you're on your period or whatever? So we made sure that we had toilet provisions, even though we didn't have an indoor checkpoint. So we worked with a local pub in Fixendale, and they offered outdoor toilets to use. And we just gave a charity donation as a thank you. And we made sure that we avoided all these tough words like this is the toughest ultra ever, or this is really hard. We don't need to tell you it's hard, because it's going to be hard. People can make that decision. And for events like Cheviot Go, which we're doing, it's tough, and it's okay to say that, because that's what it's all about. But
you need people to be realistic.
Exactly. So it has its time and place. And we make sure that the language was right, and we didn't have photos, which is quite difficult. But then what we did was, shortly after our first event, we committed to She Races. And for those that don't know, She Races was set up by Sophie Power, following the famous UTMB 2018 photo where she was breastfeeding.
Yes.
And she's done so much work to really battle with these big event organisers to make sure female runners have an equal chance of success. Things like fair refund policies, female fit T-shirts, because as much as we can claim there's unisex T-shirts, they're not unisex. And then what we did, we actually opened our eyes to some things that we could do differently. So we actually committed to it before our second event last year, and we set up a inclusivity and female runners policy. And it helps us because it gives us some direction, and it also opens us up to some criticism as well,
Yeah.
because we're happy for people to view it. We only know what we know. We don't know what we don't know. We're not the experts. We're happy for people to tell us and give us feedback as to what we can do better. And we are fluid. We are agile. We want to make change, and if we stand still, we're going to fall behind. So we're always evolving. And it's stuff like making sure results are male and female. So overall doesn't exist. You've got a male
Nothing
race.
annoys me more where you have to scroll
so
through.
frustrating.
So frustrating.
Yeah, you've got a male race and a female race, and female runners are different to male runners, and it's okay to admit that. It's fine, but they have to be separate races. And it's also things like breastfeeding. So going back to Sophie Power's famous photo, once we published our female runners policy, we actually had a runner who contacted us last year and said, hey, I want to do your events next year. I'm still pregnant, but I'm so glad that you can help. Please, can I get in touch and can you help me? And I reminded her a few weeks ago just to say, look, what can we do to help? I'm still here to help you. And she's taken part in our event in July, which is absolutely amazing. So if it helps one person, if it removes a barrier, fantastic.
Your work there is done. Where do you see this going? Is this something that you're happy with what you've got with your 3 events and how it's going, or do you see because actually what you've got here is an amazing template for incredibly inclusive race series. Do you think you're going to build this? Are you going to build these more races, or is it kind of you're just going to carry on working with the races?
The racers could look at this as a model of how to host a race. I think it's great.
Yeah, and we talked about beginners, but we haven't really talked about food. But it's also stuff like food. So we're not vegans, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't cater for vegans.
Yeah.
Mel has to follow a gluten-free diet, and it's making simple decisions like if you're choosing a bag of crisps for a checkpoint, if you've got a choice between a non-vegan and gluten-free crisp packet and one that is, why not choose the crisps that work for everybody?
Yeah. So
we make sure our checkpoint caters for everybody. A vegan can't eat a meat diet, but a meat eater can. So but it doesn't compromise on quality. We do provide quality checkpoint food. But in terms of going forward, we don't want to ruin what we have, and we just want to keep what we have, build on those, make it better. We want people to go, right, Chalkland Way. I know what Chalkland Way is. I know what the World Rangers Way is. I know what the Yorkshire Wolds Ultra is. And next year is going to be a really big year for us. So I spoke before about planning for next year concurrently. So next year we're actually increasing the entries for the Yorkshire Wolds Runners to 250 from 150. We actually so that's going to be our main event, and we've had more people trying to sign up than we've had entries this year because of that, the cut-offs, because we don't have
I can totally see why they would. And once you're out in this podcast, so you're going to be you're going to have to add double days, you're going to have to wave starts.
Next year's also an important year because Chalkland Way, it's 30-year anniversary, and we actually got in contact with the guy who created the Chalkland Way and Minster Way, called Ray Wallace, who's a famous rambler, just to say, look, we want your permission to run on your route. And it's 30 years next year, and we reached out to Ray and Ramblers to say, are you celebrating it? And they're like, well, we didn't know, so we're going to do it for them. So we're going to celebrate 30 years of Chalkland Way next year. So next year is about Chalkland Way and the Yorkshire Wolds Ultra, and making sure we actually increase the female participants for the World Rangers Way as well to make it equal. So that's our aim. And we might do one-off events, but for the next few years we've got enough to kind of tackle, and we don't want to dilute the experience, and we want to make sure we put the same amount of effort in that we do now in the future, because if we kind of take it for granted, it's going to ruin it, I believe.
I don't think there's any way you can ruin what you.
What an exciting 2024 it's going to be.
You and Mel have created here, guys. Go and check out ultratrails.co.uk.
I think it's great when you're not chasing, when it's not your core business, or you're not chasing the dollars, then you can really concentrate on a quality product. I think it's great. I love the sound of it.
It's actually nice that you actually see it, because we are trying to portray it And I'm glad it comes across. And it's what a lot of people say. A lot of people tell us after the event, and as part of feedback, hey, you're inclusive, you're welcoming. And we didn't create those words ourselves. It's what people told us. So
Gary and I do. We just create the.
We make words about
Right, Grant, let's give you your quick five. You're the biggest podcast fan, so we know. So you're prepped, but we're going. Yeah, it's going to be tricky. It's not actually. They're nice ones this week. We haven't gone mad, have we?
No, it's quite simple this week. Right, yeah, we're all trying to be positive. Actually, all these questions. The favourite race you have run?
Hardmoor's 110. Greatest experience of my life. I'll never forget it, to be honest. Hands down, I don't think it'll be beaten ever, because my first ever proper Trails 100, I've done 24-hour events before, but for me, the actual community, the actual course, just all of it was just bonkersly amazing. So,
and there's something about running through the night. It's just, I'll never ever tire of that experience. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I was on the Three Sisters Sunrise. I was me and SK Stephen Kirk. You might know him. And we just enjoyed farts in the sunrise, and just got to the end. Absolutely amazing.
Fantastic.
It's such relief when that sun rises as well, when you start.
I thought he was going to say it's such a relief when you fart.
Also when you fart, and it's a safe fart as well.
As long as it is a fart,
God, it's
can't
dry.
trust them that far into a race. Okay, you're going to tour the line one of your races. Which one would it be? Which one's your favourite?
Yorkshire Wolds Ultra.
Okay.
I run it all the time. I do it in parts, and hands down.
Funniest anecdote or funniest thing that's happened as a race director?
I don't know. You put me on the spot. What has happened? What's funny?
It's tricky. It's the point of the questions, Grant.
Just throw that one in. Tricky one.
I don't know. You might have to come back to that, actually.
Well, it's quite good. You haven't had any. You haven't had you caught somebody mid poo, or someone ended up in Newcastle or anything.
I haven't got. I need some funny people to enter. I mean, we've got some funny runners, but we need some more funny runners. If you're funny, enter one of our events. It sounds like
it's also well organised and everything, that people are following the guidelines.
I'm not going to mention his name, but he knows who he is. We actually had him on speed dial, ringing every 5 minutes, going off course. And Mel, bless her, she had to help him. I think the phone rang about 10 times.
Oh my gosh!
Fantastic.
But we don't mind.
No,
it's all good.
It's all part of the job.
Okay, according to your extensive post-race research, what is the most popular checkpoint snack?
Jelly tots. Not many people know about jelly tots, but I kid you not, it's the secret weapon.
Jelly tots.
Absolutely amazing. And I actually did to help people run recce routes. I did a little water stop in the Wolds a few weeks ago, and I had an impromptu box of jelly tots which were going spare, and we had some runners come up and it was all gone, just jelly tots galore. Absolutely amazing.
High quality trail snack is a jelly tot. I love it. Probably in the winter, sometimes it's a bit hard, but summer, it's a great choice.
Just chew harder. It'll take your mind off the pain.
Chew harder.
Okay, the last question we always ask our guests. We give you the choice for your Instagram story music when we share the podcast. This week, what's going to be, Grant?
Foo Fighters, Best of You. I could have chosen a song which nobody was going to know, like Amos Lee or Floyd Vance, but no one knows who they are. So
whatever you want, it's your choice.
Foo Fighters, Best of You. It's actually a song that I listened to when I did my first ever ultra, and it's Mel's favourite band as well.
I think Foo Fighters, they must be the most popular, just the kind of what I'm casting a memory back to our little competition at the moment. And even James Noble's Foo Fighter, he was a previous guest.
It's the beat, it's the drumming.
Very good, very good.
Yeah, and Foo Fighters, they're unoffendable, they're strong, they've got character, and they're just proper good. So yeah.
Cool. Not a Disney classic.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Firstly, thank you for everyone for setting up such an incredible series of races, for being such a runner-led RD. We look forward to, thank you as well for supporting the show.
Thanks for being a Patreon member, Grant.
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you so
support.
much. And go and check out ultratrails.co.uk.
Yes. Perfect.
Go and have a look at the webpage, and they're going to go fast. And anybody that's done your races or is perhaps going to do the races, send us a picture. Show us those lovely valleys that you talked about over on Facebook. And good luck for the rest of the year, Grant. Keep in touch.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, cheers. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Grant, for coming on the podcast. Oh, if I was local, I'd pop over to one of those races instantly.
I think I should. 2024, yeah, maybe.
How's 2024? Have you got your eyes on anything for next year?
Yeah, I've entered Manchester Marathon, but that's, not really invested.
Our listeners are not going to be invested in that, to be honest. They're going to be like, yeah, Gary, what?
Little 100 again because I'm...
Oh, for goodness sake.
Well, I'm chasing the slate on. I'd like to do the 5 finishes.
Okay.
Then I'll put Little 100 to bed. But other than that, no, nothing is... Maybe I'll be racing you on Northern Traverse. We'll see.
Oh, I would love that. Take you down to Chinatown.
Can you imagine that? I wish I hadn't said it now. I might have started something. No,
come on, don't be scared. Line up. I'm not competitive at all, Gary. You'll be fine.
My heart rate's actually gone up a bit.
My anxiety is kicked in. The man, the myth, the legend's back from his 2,000 meters.
How's he looking?
It's quite quiet. Oh, Tarky looks a bit... hang on a sec, listeners. He's going to come through the door. Here he is. Oh,
fresh off the mountains.
Peace out.
Oh, peace out. Cool.
No problem. Oh my God, no problem. He's not even hobbling. What's wrong with him?
God damn it.
He's not sitting in the car like I do when I come back and I need a good just 5 minutes to decompress before I get out.
Yeah, I do that. I'm exactly the same. I'll sit in the car for 5 minutes, just like I'm not quite ready.
I'm not quite ready to talk. And I'm hoping that someone will have seen the car come back and put the kettle on. Then I come in and nobody's in the least bit interested.
Ooh, Strava. Is that a thing? Ooh. He spat your drink.
So unlike you, Gary.
I don't know where it came from. It's not even on the script. I just did that. Spontaneous. But yeah, Stuart Secker. You're right last week, actually, the spine race.
I told you. That's why I said there's no hope for Eddie in any of this board ever. I need to pick my week. I need like pre-Christmas week. I'm just going to go out.
You had your chance the other week. You blew it. You could have been 100 miler. Oh yeah, it's not enough these days, is it? Oh, you need to be like 200.
Oh my God, that's a bit judgy, isn't it?
In the side. But yes, Stuart Secker, 162 miles. So I'm not too sure. He must have restarted his watch.
No, because it starts on the Saturday, the spine. Yes, and so you never, I got the same. I was so angry because you don't get a 268 mile week.
True. And Stuart took the crown for time on feet. And
of course he did.
But Summit Ultra.co.uk, and I'm sure that's Paul Wilson, his coaching company, 38,000.
Was he doing Andorra, I reckon?
No, he was up supporting. I did see some pictures over on Facebook, actually. I'm sure he's up in Scotland with the Monroe FKT.
Okay, amazing.
So that would have been good. Yeah, Eddie, you did really well. Second
Where
place
was I?
there.
Second place.
24,000 in 862 feet. Well done. But yeah, pop over to Strava and check it out and join our club.
A couple of people did jump onto Strava saying, just coming here to give you kudos because you asked for it on the podcast. Awesome. I should have felt ashamed, but I didn't. I loved it.
I don't get 10 a day. I was looking at my followers. You were crushing it. I don't get as many as you.
No. I mean, well, Gary, got to get out there, get 25,000 feet. A little less whining, a little more action. We got a poem from Richard Bulmer. Here we go. The ultra marathon motion. Oh my God. The Beatles sang All You Need Is Love. Not true. You'll need an ultra marathon motion. Martin Luther King said, I have a dream. I do too. A bow releasing ultra marathon motion. My coach says, do more squats. I'll hold that squat for my ultra-marathon motion. Roy Orbison sang Only for the Lonely. I yearn to be alone for an ultra-marathon motion. Nelson Mandela spoke of freedom, the pure freedom of an ultra-marathon motion. Aristotle extolled marvelous nature, at one with the nature for an ultra-marathon motion. Johnny Cash sang about the Ring of Fire. Chili pasta, oh dear, the ultra-marathon motion. Pirates search for buried treasure, and I oblige by burying my ultramarathon motion. A cricketer hits a 4 and cheers. Me too, 110 miles and times 4 the ultramarathon motion. Richard, thank you so much for writing a poem all about your bowel movements.
Richard is so creative. Not the first time Richard sent a poem.
So clever. He's so clever, and we've all been there, and I'm glad you buried it.
Who would like a little break in the Lake District? Me too, yeah. A double hands up. Well, our new Patreon partner, Fawnside Farm Cottages, are offering one lucky listener a £150 voucher. Yeah, super generous. Thanks, Fawnside Farm Cottages, for supporting the show and our listeners. And all you need to do is, 1, be a part of the Tea and Trails Facebook group. 2, like and share the competition post. And 3, comment below saying which cottage you would like to stay at if you won the £150 voucher. It's been super popular. Loads of people are commenting which cottage they'd like to stay at. So yeah, pop over to www.fawnside.co.uk. Check them out. One winner we'll pick the winner at random on the 9th of July and then announce it on the show after that.
Oh, imagine when they book their holiday and then we see pictures of them having a lovely time. Perhaps we'll be invited guests and we can go and join them on their holiday.
We should hire all the cottages
Just
out
turn
at one
up.
time. We could do like a Tea and Trails training camp from Fawnside. We have some 5-star reviews. I love a 5-star review. Yeah,
you love a 5-star review. You don't love a 1-star review quite so much.
Not enough stars apparently for this review for Sue Wilson.
I thought you meant she hadn't given us enough stars, and I was going to go,
No.
right, calm down, Gary. No judging.
Yeah, well, every episode, according to Sue, is a minimum of 5 stars. In episode 25 and 26, at least 10. Thanks so much. Yeah, split between interviews and courageous, honest conversation between the lovely, inspiring, and top woman Eddie and that fella from Wingate. Absolutely brilliant and best podcast. Take time for yourselves to rest, reset, and take care. Thank you so much for all that is Tea and Trails. 5
Sue,
stars.
I think you need to come around to my house instantly and come and have a cup of tea, and I'll rest and reset.
Yeah.
Do you like pushing a hoover around, Sue? You could
Patreon perk.
Patreon perk. Clean Eddie's house.
Thanks, Sue. That was lovely.
Can I read another one?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Funny, informative, honest, love it. Look forward to the longer runs because it's my time to listen. Eddie's spine journey was incredible and inspiring. Looking forward to Gary's dragon backstory in due course. Geez, Gary, you're going to have to create some content for this track. You can't just jog around now and be like, yeah, wasn't that bad, really? Really enjoyed it. You know,
create some jeopardy.
Epic jeopardy.
I know, yeah, no pressure. You know what? I think all that about my hands, I'm pretty sure there'll be some jeopardy at some point.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I don't think you need to worry about that at all. Just Crib Gawk. I just want the picture of you with the 4 points contact on Crib Gawk. I hope the weather's like terrible and it's like stormy.
No,
all you can see is your teeth.
I'll be still on there this time next year. Like a skeleton. We have got...
But in a really nice jacket that you got with 15% off, so you'll be warm as toast.
We do have another review, Trevor. I will read it out, but just in case nobody sends in a 5-star review between this time and next week, I'm going to save it back. So I want to do 2 this week.
Okay, but there will be. Somebody will. Just add another one, even if you've written one. I'll get the kids on it after holiday fun.
Yeah. Well, I do think I've delivered a bit more energy than I expected to.
You definitely did. I did spit my recovery shake out at one point when you started singing Itsy Witsy Teeny Beanie, whatever, Bikini.
I don't normally sing.
Don't know where you got that tune from. What you've been listening to.
Is it Oot Our Cantona? Man United fans remember that song. I think that's what I was inspired from. But yeah, what about yourself? What's coming up this week, Eddie?
Well, it's a juggle this week, so it won't be quite as exciting. I'm tempted to just go out and just get to the top of that Strava leaderboard again. I can't be quite as free with my time this week. So, and I need to give some time to allow Bryn to train. I know, gosh, selfless act.
Selfish
allow my
people.
husband to go out. And so, we got to share the load, and he's got to have a little bit more load than I have. So I'm going to fit in what I can. I'm not going to get worried about what I can do, and I will just. I hate going out when the kids are back from like school or whatever they've been doing, going out in the evening. I really hate that, but I'm just gonna have to suck it up, Gary, and do it. And the minute I go out, I'll be fine and get it done. Hopefully a couple of long runs. One day we've hired an electric bike, and so Finney's gonna accompany me on my long run, and he is gonna be able to zoom up the hills, and I'll turn it off for going downhill, otherwise I'll never see him again.
They go super fast.
They go super fast, so he's not going to be allowed to use it on the downhill. So I look forward to that. Will have its trials and tribulations itself. I'm sure there'll be a few mother-daughter moments as well. So hopefully another volume. I think I give it a little bit of beans up a hill today, and I felt good. Might do a session, but again, might not do, Gary. I'm just going to be organic, like Courtney DeWalter, and just see how the body feels over the week. What about you?
Well, I'm just going to roll with the punches again. Whatever.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Look at us, just relax. We're in mind. We're just totally easy. We do not get stressed at all.
I'll stress in Coniston. I know that when I rock up in July and I've rolled with the punches for the last 4 weeks, I'm pretty stressed out. But yeah, if I do the sessions, it's going to be 600s, I think, on the plan. That kind of structured workout. And there is a hill session, or maybe there's another one I saw on the plan, which was an incline treadmill run. Now, I've not checked the treadmills at the gym if I can put them on an incline. If I can, I might do that, because I've never ever done that. I've never done a long, say, 10% or 8% gradient loop dull. I don't think so.
Oh, it's brilliant, because you can get like 1,000 meters in an hour, because you obviously don't need to run downhill. You just need to, if I give them to people, I do build up to that, because you're not moving, your calf is working constantly. Yeah. So you just need to be a little bit careful if you go super steep, that, even when you run up a steep climb, you're constantly moving your feet and going through your feet because of the rocks and the change. So you just need to be careful. But I'd love you to do it, because I'd like to hear him.
So we'll see how that goes if I do that. Local long run, Lisa's work pattern means I can't go and play at the weekend. But I was there yesterday, Monday, so I can't complain. Too, my daughter's 17, and so we are being. I know.
You don't look old enough, Gary.
I know, it's pretty.
Oh, he's blushing.
The collagen is definitely doing. But we were all taught, it's so funny. There's a few of us in our group are all using this Protein Rebel collagen, and we're all gushing over our nails.
God,
50-year-old bunch of 50-year-old blokes. Oh, my nails are fantastic. They look so healthy. All of us were like, not much hair though. That's it.
Yeah, that's. I don't know. I reckon there's a little sprouting around the side. Your skin is definitely glowing. You're glowing, Gary.
That's sunburnt. But yeah, we are being booted out because the girls are coming over for karaoke and some alcohol, I think, is going to happen. So hopefully we have a house to come back to. We're going to go to the cinema, I think, either Asteroid City, Wes Anderson movie, like the sound of that, or The Flash, DC. It's not Marvel, it's a DC film. I like the sound of that too. And plus a little trip to Pizza Express.
And then home to check out the... are they all staying the night? Or are they...
I think so. You know what? I don't know. We're pretty relaxed parents like that. Our house is
I love that. Yours is the cool house. Mine definitely isn't the cool house. Yeah, you can't have sleepovers. Mum's got to get up to train. She needs to go to bed at 9:00.
Oh no. Yeah, they always sleeping over our house. But I quite enjoyed it. It's lovely. I remember as a kid,
our
the
house wasn't a
sleepover house.
Oh, okay. I love it. Yeah.
I've given it our little kids to.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Gary's house.
Yeah, I need to have a little Patreon bit of admin actually.
Okay.
I'm not like kind of shamelessly plugging Patreon, but I do hear people say they struggle to find the codes using the Patreon app on the browser. They are pinned to the top of the page. So they should be there, quite easy to find. But on the app, they are not. So you need to scroll down all the posts. And I think, say I update update the post every month, but it doesn't update it to the top of the group. It always just updates the original post. I think you need to scroll down to something like the 27th of January. Maybe I'll start emailing them out once a month.
That's a good idea. Or just, jump into the Tea and Trails Instagram messages, Facebook messages, and Gary can help you out. I'd love to say I would, but I'll just say hi.
But for some reason, the Patreon app is quite tricky to use. Sorry for that.
We are done. We're done. Sweet, sweet listeners, thank you so much. Hope we kept you company on your long runs, kids, taxi services, long drives, helping you get to sleep. I do have a podcast I listen to that I don't really know what happens in it, but I just put it on when I go to sleep, and the woman's voice is so dull. And what they're talking about is so dull, they go off to sleep. So that's fine. We don't mind. It's all in the stats.
That's not a 5-star review, is it?
Helps me get to sleep. Oh, thanks for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. If you did, take a look over at Patreon. It's the best way to support to support the content. Thanks to our partners, patrons new and old. Be kind to your future self. If you've done a big event, if you've done the spine, something mega, take that week off. You will thank me later. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow and share.
Stay safe on the trails, run wise, run well, and don't overdo it. Listen to your body as well as your favorite podcast. Make sure you refuel with your favorite brew. My name is Gary Thwaites.
And I'm Eddie Sutton.
And that was episode 28 of Tea and Trails.